All right, I think we're in pretty good shape. So once again, thank you for joining us for today's presentation. It'll be brief, for about 20 to 30 minutes. Tony and I will be walking you through our business model, the things that we're doing, a lot of exciting developments coming up. So we'll share those with you as well. Once again, thank you for joining us. Let's go ahead and get started. If the GoToMeeting panel is still open on your screen, just click that little orange arrow on the top. That'll push that off the screen for you so you get a complete screenshot. Once again, thank you for joining us. This is Gary Paquin. I'm one of the co-founders of iRemedy Healthcare, along with my brother Tony, who's the CEO of the company. Tony and I, by the way, have been working together for 30 plus years. We're both lifelong technologists, and we're extremely excited about the work that we're doing here with iRemedy Healthcare, as I'm sure you will be as we walk through this presentation for you. To begin with, is a statement: we're revolutionizing the medical supply industry. And I think, as many people were able to witness over the last couple of years, the medical supply chain is broken. We saw that up close and personal, certainly during the pandemic. And healthcare providers, patients, so forth, suffer as a result. We had begun development of our technology using an AI technology back before the term AI became so popular, to use a new technology to bring a new way to provide medical supplies to this industry. And key to that is our CTO, and we're going to talk a little bit about Jim in a few moments, who is a former Amazon vice president. So Tony, if you want to add in any comments and say hello.
Yeah, good afternoon, everybody. Thanks for joining us. I see we have a really massive turnout again. That's fantastic. Excited to share the story. It really starts with the fact that, the medical supply chain is broken. I don't know that everybody realizes just how bad it is. We sort of all experienced that during the infamous pandemic life that we all lived through over the last couple of years. But in fact, in the industry for the last 10 or 20 years or more, really caused by globalization, it has been a very frail and outdated supply chain. And that's why we set off to improve it and really disrupt that market when we jumped into iRemedy and this tech development effort a couple of years ago.
It's a massive market. It's a $130 billion market in the United States. As everybody realizes, this has critical life consequences, and we can share some real examples with you on the next slide. Shortages are common. In fact, they're becoming so commonplace that we hear about them almost daily on the news now. And as a result, you end up with difficulty of accessing product. High prices continue to limit access. And so, it's led to this market. Tony, if you could talk a little bit about the globalization and what the U.S. medical supply market includes.
Yeah, it's interesting. People don't really, I think, are not really aware, or maybe they've become recently aware, but like many markets in the United States, the manufacturing of these products moved overseas, starting probably 30, 40 years ago. It just became more efficient, lower cost to go to China and other places and make the products that we use. And these offshore manufacturing operations are actually very sophisticated, very high tech in many cases, and they've developed the technology and the resources and the facilities to do the drugs and devices and other medical supplies that we use every day in this country to stay alive. The problem is that works until it doesn't, and we're all experiencing that now. It's in many ways a failed system, and that causes the shortages and the high costs, which then leads to problems in providing the healthcare that you need as consumers, as healthcare providers, but then also contributes to the very high costs. And that's one of the reasons that we have such an expensive system for healthcare here in the United States.
And so in the headlines we've seen and continue to see practically daily, is shortage of drugs and supply chain issues and so forth. And this problem is continuing to grow. We are very involved now with U.S. government, some other entities, by the way, in terms of reshoring activities that Tony will talk a little bit about further in the presentation. But this has become the new norm. And so it's interesting. One of the podcasts that Tony was involved in recently was to protect the medical supply chain. Made in America is going to be key. So that initiative has begun with some government support and just market dynamics. But we see drug shortages nearing an all-time high. Rationing of drugs. Same thing is happening with supplies, and it happens, by the way, depending upon the type of supplies and what part of the country they're being distributed in. So in addition to all of the just day-to-day challenges that regular physician offices and surgery centers and urgent care centers, all of the problems that they face on a daily basis in terms of getting an equal and an easy access to the supplies that they need. In terms of the leadership, I think it's one thing we're very proud of is the team, the tech team that we have leading this. Beginning with my brother Tony. Tony is our founder and CEO of founded Agency One, which we subsequently sold to CNA Insurance Company. We grew that to be the largest software company in the insurance industry. After that, we founded Metanex. We did an IPO on the NASDAQ. That was kind of a forerunner to EMR systems. And Tony has, and Jim, 12 patents filed. 3 have been issued, I think possibly up to 4 now. And Tony's the author of 2 healthcare books. The second one, by the way, coming out within a month or so. So Jim Harding is our CTO. Jim is a very, very interesting background, probably one of the top data scientists in the country. He is truly one of the leading authorities on particularly large data and a lot of technology things that are becoming part of our everyday conversation these days, AI and so on. Jim, right out of college, was one of the creators of PC-DOS that was licensed to Microsoft that launched that company. And actually, Jim has a patent with Paul Allen in the database technology that Microsoft uses to launch the company. Jim was also VP of technology at Amazon. He built and launched the Amazon Marketplace, actually has a patent for that. Back when Jim joined Bezos, they were just an online bookstore. And prior to that, Jim had started 2 separate companies and sold those to Amazon. That's how he became involved with Amazon. Jim's had 15 patents filed, 5 issued. And in our team, we've had 3 successful exits via acquisitions, a NASDAQ IPO, and of course, Jim's accolades speak for themselves. Tony, I don't know if there's anything else that you want to add regarding Jim, because I know you guys get into a lot of very interesting science. And by the way, you have a podcast coming up shortly, I understand.
Yeah, Jim is, he's been a great collaborator. He's a good friend. He is highly motivated at this point in his career to do the right thing. He is, really signed into our mission of trying to improve healthcare. So it's just a real joy to work with. And we do have a podcast coming up. We have another episode of my podcast featuring Jim and really talking about the underlying sort of science that we refer to as rocket, but it's all the IP and patents and core science of the technology that we build iRemedy on. And we're going to spend about an hour just sort of talking through that. It'll be a lot of fun. It'll be very interesting. I expect that episode will be up on our channel, within the next couple of days, no later than July 1st, so very soon.
Yeah, it'll be very interesting. And then speaking of patents, Tony, why don't you just give us a brief introduction to what we're looking at regarding the technology?
Yeah, and we talk about this in some of our documentation, and so there's some press releases going out. I would encourage people to monitor our updates, go to our website, track on the news and the press releases, because we really like to talk about these things in specifics. We have about a dozen, and I say about because there's actually additional patents being evaluated and filed, kind of patent pending or provisional patent applications that are out there. So this is a very active part of our business. This slide, which is now a week old or so, it reports 3 patents granted. I think well, I know it's actually 4 patents now. So it's very active that the patents are being fully granted to us. We believe that this gives us a tremendous amount of protection on our intellectual property that we're developing for iRemedy. So that's the key fact. And it's an active part of what we do. We develop our IP, and then we're constantly looking at, what we can do to protect that property. Jim has a lot of experience going all the way back to Microsoft and Amazon and getting successful patents published. And I would comment that we have a great law firm that manages this process for us. We're very, very pleased with our legal counsel. They're a leading firm in the area of IP protection.
And the patents and the technology, as Tony referred to it as GRACA, a number of those patents are signed that we own. All the IP that we're developing, iRemedy owns. And then iRemedy has an exclusive in perpetuity license on all GRACA technology as it pertains to healthcare e-commerce. And that's very, very broad ramifications of that. And so in terms of looking at that technology, and Tony and Jim, by the way, are currently putting together a pretty extensive tech deck, if you will. Tony's been working with Jim for the last couple of weeks on that, and hopefully that'll be finished soon. But an understanding of how this technology, how this unique technology applies to the world of medical supply, medical marketplaces. What does that mean, relative to the world of McKesson and Medline and others? So Tony, talk to us a little bit about this AI and these digital agents, and what does that mean by, how does that scale our operations and so forth?
So what happened a few years ago, Jim and I were having conversations about the problems of the U.S. medical supply chain. Obviously, without rehashing it, we have a lot of experience at this. I had worked with hospitals for 15 years. Jim had had a big hospital project, knew healthcare well, but was really one of the leading thinkers in marketplace and e-commerce. The problem with the medical supply chain is, it's massive, right? Millions of products, very complex. It's highly regulated. It's life and death. You can't afford to make mistakes. And that's one of the reasons it's so highly regulated. But as a result, it's just super complex and it's very, very difficult to manage. You have a lot of old technology, old rules, old laws. I mean, some of the big players in this industry are over 100 years old. They're just not modern in the way that they manage the big data problems. So when we began to attack the problems, and the problems are around catalog management, availability management, which is taking care of the shortages, understanding the frailties and identifying the frailties or the weak parts of the supply chain, and then really managing the pricing. Pricing in the medical supply chain is terrible. If you put 100 doctors in a room and you ask them what they pay for a device that they all use, maybe a scalpel or something, you very possibly would get 100 different answers. It's just a bad system, and it's caused by this complexity. Well, the good news is the power of the technology, the artificial intelligence, raw power, just in the last couple of years, got to the point where we could begin to solve these problems. One way that I illustrate it is I could take any hospital, any surgery center, any doctor's office, and I could help them evaluate their problems. And we could say, if we had an unlimited number of people that we could assign to your problem at no cost, we could solve that problem. You know, if I had 1,000 employees that I could just have them working 24 hours a day, finding the products that are missing, researching the pricing to make sure the price is right, you know, looking out into the future to see where there might be a raw material problem or a logistical problem that puts some particular product at risk. Well, yeah, you could succeed that. But the problem is you don't have 1,000 people, and even if you did, you couldn't afford them. And even if you could afford them, it'd be impossible to manage. So this is where the technology comes in. And part of what we do is we've developed these digital agents that work on behalf of our staff to go out and solve those problems on behalf of our clients or on behalf of us. And they have these agents then, you know, can manage our supply chain or manage our supply chain on behalf of particular clients. So the result is we can kind of overwhelm the problem. If you've got a massive data problem and a massive operational problem of scale, well, you know, you can overwhelm it, as I said, with people that you can't get, you can't afford. So we can overwhelm it using these digital agents that we can create. And, they're almost without cost. I mean, in essence, I could have 10,000 agents working for me at iRemedy tomorrow. And, that's the basis of the technology. And to a certain degree, to a large degree, this is happening all day, every day at iRemedy. So that the digital agents are out there today working on our behalf, solving various aspects of the order processing for our clients. And then as time goes by, we make more powerful agents and we find more problems to solve. That's the basis in many ways of what we're able to do.
So when you look at it, this is starting to drill down into some of the specifics. And I think something, Tony, that everybody can kind of relate to, because we've heard about it so much in the news lately, of an AI like a chat GPT. And so if you could, in the context of that, describe exactly how our AI system works and supply procurement.
Right. So, there's this term artificial intelligence, right? And now it's being bantered about for good reason, because there's some amazing and powerful things happening. But we've been working in this area for a long time, and in some cases for decades, as this industry has sort of, gotten strong and gotten weaker and gone through its peaks and valleys. But in the chat GPT world, if you will, that everybody suddenly is becoming very familiar with, that is an LLM, a large language model. And what has happened is these systems, this chat GPT and others, have become extremely powerful and effective at human to computer communication, large language models. They've taught computers how to, in essence, communicate with people in a very natural way. So you can go to ChatGPT and you can, in essence, kind of talk to it. And in fact, we're seeing really the first generation of this. This is why it's so exciting, because, well, where does it go next? One way that I try and describe this to people, and by the way, in our podcast, we're going to get into this conversation in detail, so people really should jump into that podcast in the next week or so. It's on YouTube. But Jim and I will get into this discussion. But one way to think of it is we are the AI that does activities. ChatGPT is the AI that interacts with people and information. And we're the AI that can go out and do something with that interaction. That's one way to describe the differences between these two worlds. This term of artificial intelligence is really just a broad label that's put on various different technologies. In our case, using this example, we have this procurement system that we built. So the first step is our digital agents go out into the world in the web-based application software internet world, and we find information on medical products, on manufacturers, on distributors. We get pricing information. We get import-export data. There's just all kinds of data out there. And we're constantly pulling and learning on that data. Our goal is to be the largest and the smartest healthcare catalog in the world. I mean, our ultimate goal would be to have all the information about every product manufactured that is a qualified health and medical product. And our digital agents are out there working to do that. Then, that's the catalog and the learning. And then, there's the order process. It's natural. It's what everybody's used to. It's the Amazon marketplace activity. So we have a state-of-the-art B2B, business-to-business platform. We also have a B2C platform, and we're able to deploy these platforms not only for iRemedy, but we have branded solutions where we could let a hospital have their own virtual medical supply business, for example. That's pretty normal technology. But then going to the next step, we use our digital agents again to solve problems. If a product comes up, there's a shortage, just the way that medical supply chain works, that shortage might be localized right down to that particular doctor's office. It may be where the distributor says, well, we've got plenty of that product, we just don't have it for you, or we don't have it in Michigan, or we don't have it, for a hospital. So it's just an odd part of the way the industry is set up based on allocations. When that occurs, we can tell our digital agents, hey, we need you to go find that product. And it'll go looking for that product forever until it finds it for that client, and then it'll interact with the client, let them know they found the product. So this is where the scale of our digital agents gives us this additional problem-solving ability. There's the old line that says, is the juice worth the squeeze? Which is to say, is the amount of effort I'm putting into something worth the result? So if a doctor's looking for a product, that's really important. They might need that product for a surgery or for a patient. But at the same time, they can't say, well, take all of our employees, drop what we're doing and go look for this product. I mean, they can't do that. And it's too much effort. That's, again, where our technology can do that for them. And that's, that scale opportunity. Then finally, there's the reporting capability. And that's once we do all this activity, we can track the orders, report to clients, and then do cost analysis. And that's a very important part of the business because the cost management part of this is so complex. People rarely pay the price they're supposed to pay. And that's what we solve for them using this system.
There's some interesting opportunities developing on that side as well, because for those of you on the call that are familiar with GPOs, they have reached out to us in terms of potential applications to help them manage proper pricing and cost issues for their clients. So there's, once again, to Tony's point, using these digital agents, we can do cost analysis and so forth and scale it instead of using people. So Tony, talk to us a little bit about the market segmentations for iRemedy and where we're at today. And some of I know there's a couple of key announcements that we're involved in right now, and you might mention those.
Yeah, as we manage our business, we think of it as serving three main categories. So if you're looking at our P&L or our revenue or our budget, you'll see us talk about three lines of business. Of course, they're all health and medical products, and they all run through our platform, and they're all managed operationally the same, but segmenting the revenue that comes from these three groups. One is consumers, B2C, stuff people use all day, every day. We have some great joint ventures we're about to announce with a pharmaceutical card provider, for example. But we provide products that people need in their homes for their health. And we're a big advertiser on Google, for example, of those products. When we run those ads and we get those orders, occasionally doctors, hospitals, government agencies, all kinds of people will buy from us. That kind of is our, drives our B2B business. So category one is consumers B2C. Category 2 here we label as surgery centers. And what we really mean by that is what I call the middle market. Surgery centers, urgent care centers, imaging centers, large doctors' offices, large dental practices. These are businesses that need supplies, spend a lot of money on supplies, and they're very focused on managing their costs because they need to operate profitably in order to survive. In many cases, they're owned by private equity, public companies, and so forth. They're very P&L driven. The second market, the surgery center market, this is our high growth market segment for 2023. This is where we're building out new solutions. We've got new partners. This is where a lot of our sales and marketing investment is going. This is where ultimately we believe we'll be able to develop a predictable, steady, significant revenue growth is in this middle section here. The third is the US government. And the government's important because they are the largest consumer of medical supplies in the United States, largely because of the VA, who cares for, I believe the last number was around 40 million Americans have some sort of VA healthcare provider, services. But then you also have Medicare, of course, that covers all the seniors. And there's this department called the Strategic National Stockpile that's an important part of the defense system, if you will, here in the United States. So as a result, you add all that together, they're a very big consumer of healthcare. They're very focused on improving the supply chain. They're very focused on the quality, the data, the information, and also developing the reshoring of the medical supply manufacturing back to the United States. We're very active with the government on many levels. They've been a very big customer of ours over the years, our largest customer, and that'll continue to be the case. We love the government. We do good business with them. We're going to continue to do that in the years to come. The only thing that people have to be aware is it's real chunky, is the word that I use, where you might go several months and have very little contracts or no contracts at all. Then boom, you get that one big contract you're working on. So you get a lot of this. But we have hundreds of millions of dollars in proposals with the government right now, and they'll continue to be an important customer and partner of ours in the years to come.
So speaking of government orders, we've had over $100 million product delivered to the government. It was over 1 billion items. It was, I believe, the largest airlift of medical supplies in US history. That allowed us then to begin to get, into a relationship with Department of Defense and others, become an approved vendor. Now we have additional proposals in place for over $200 million in products and technology and services. And we're continuing to build out in terms of some of those relationships. So Tony, if you could mention that a little bit, because I know we've got some key partnerships developing.
Yeah, I think that actually comes up, Gary, in another slide, if you just want to go forward. Yeah, there you go. So we're very tightly connected with a group called SAMS, which is a coalition of leading companies, pharmaceutical, medical supply manufacturers and distributors, who are then working closely with the White House, the Department of Defense, HHS, and others to improve and reshore the manufacturing of medicines and supplies. So we're part of that organization. We work with them very closely, and we're really developing additional partnerships with SAMS that I think we'll be announcing here in the next month or two on ways that we're going to develop a marketplace of just US-based manufactured products. We think that's a huge growing segment. They'll probably be in the billions of dollars in the very soon, very near years to come, next year, the year after, that kind of thing. And we're going to be a leader in developing that marketplace here in the United States.
Some very interesting things happening on the government front, as everybody knows. I mean, with the reshoring application, securing America's medicine and supply. and then even some technology applications. So there's some very interesting opportunities for us as a company. So Tony, if you could do a summary of our progress where we're at today.
Yeah, so the AI-powered platform turned out to be the right idea at the right time. We started working on this 4 or 5 years ago to solve the shortage problem. Well, it turned out to be a really, right thing to do. Revenue last year was over 50 million. We've got over 10,000 customers in our, main platform. I think it's now probably closer to 15,000. We have served, consumers, physicians, dentists, hospitals, schools, government agencies, you name it, they've gone online and bought from us. So we definitely have momentum. The technology is in many ways deployed and in many ways continuing to deploy. So the good news is we're off to a great start. I think the better news is the huge opportunity is still very much in front of us. We've, in many ways, have just begun. And as we mentioned earlier on the tech, patents are being issued and technology is being delivered. So we feel very good about that.
So in summary, our mission, as Tony said, is to create the largest and smartest medical products catalog in the internet. We refer to that as the Universal Health and Medical Products Catalog. We have the fundamental technology to do that. We've created a highly proprietary supply chain platform using the Grokka technology with Jim Hardings and his scientists, so forth, putting that together. By the way, the patents are pretty broad reaching, are going to have many additional applications. So there's a lot of interest and excitement there. Our executive team has had a track record of successful exits, acquisitions, as well as an IPO. And we'll continue to look at, what are the best opportunities for our Remedy and our shareholders going forward. It might be an acquisition, it might be an IPO, it might be to just build a company and add a couple of, decimal points to our revenues and build a multi-billion-dollar company. So, we're excited about what lies in front of us. And there is investment information at republic.com. We do have a Reg A offering going, so people can go to republic.com and see us listed there. So once again, I want to thank everybody for joining us. If you'd like a copy of this presentation, let us know. We'll send you a link. If you have any questions, please feel free to reach out to me directly there at my email. Tony and I will get back to you. We've been doing a lot of traveling and so forth, but I think that is behind us now. So we're very focused on a very, very busy July. So wish everybody a happy holiday weekend. Hopefully you get a nice holiday weekend in your part of the world. And we appreciate you joining us this afternoon. Thank you very much. Thanks, Tony.
Thank
We'll
you.
talk this.
Bye.
All right. Bye.
Bye.